Every morning in America, millions of people wake up with the same silent fear. Not fear of losing their job, not fear of an emergency, but the fear of checking their bank account. For Daniel Carter, that fear had become routine. It showed up between his commute and his first cup of coffee in an easy feeling that no matter how hard he worked, he was always one step behind. On this particular morning, something happened that hit deeper than embarrassment. His debit card declined. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. The barista tried to smile. The people behind him pretended not to hear, and Daniel, flushed with shame, whispered, "Sorry, must be a bank glitch." But it wasn't a glitch. It was a warning that the habits he thought were harmless were quietly dismantling his financial life. And this is the story of the 5 money habits that kept him broke, and the shifts that changed everything. Daniel is 33, works in customer support in Columbus, Ohio. He's not rich, not poor, just typical. He earns enough to get by, enough to enjoy some weekends, enough to feel normal, but never enough to breathe. Every month begins with a fresh paycheck and a moment of relief, then a slow, painful decline. Subscription renewals, grocery trips that cost more than expected, a random Amazon package he barely remembers ordering, gas, coffee, takeout, little things that feel normal. Inside his bank account, a quiet storm. Daniel didn't understand where his money went. Emily, his girlfriend, sometimes asked gently, "Where does it all go, Dan?" He always shrugged. But one night, he came home to a stack of unopened envelopes, one marked "Final Notice." His electricity bill, 3 months overdue. He sank to the floor, surrounded by paper, surrounded by evidence of avoidance, and whispered, "I don't know how to manage money." That moment became his turning point. Daniel never lost money in dramatic ways. No luxury car, no vacations. His enemy was small expenses. He never felt a $7 latte, a $4 energy drink, a $15 lunch, a $12 forgotten subscription. He prided himself on not spending much, yet everything silently leaked away. One Sunday, at Emily's suggestion, he downloaded a spending tracker and connected his account. He expected some surprises. Not 112 transactions under $20 in a single month. He scrolled in disbelief. $8.79 for iced coffee, $14.32 for fast food, $3.99 for a mobile game, $19.95 for a subscription, $12.47 for random snacks, $6.29 for another coffee, $18.61 for late-night food. On and on. Emily looked over his shoulder and said softly, "Dan, this is your missing money." He swallowed and whispered, "I didn't even feel these." Humans aren't wired to notice small leaks.
We only feel pain when the price tag hurts. Small expenses slip past our radar disguised as comfort. Daniel didn't need restrictions, he needed awareness. So he made a simple rule, a 10-second pause before every non-essential purchase. Every time he paused, he made better decisions. Within 1 month, his daily spending dropped by almost 40%, not because he became strict, but because he became conscious. Debt never scared Daniel. It felt normal. Everyone he knew had it. He believed paying more than the minimum was responsible. But one afternoon, during a routine call with his credit card company, the representative asked, "Do you want to know how much interest you paid last year?" He hesitated. "Sure." The rep said, $1,142. Daniel froze. He had spent over $1,000 and gotten nothing in return. Most Americans don't go broke from purchases, they go broke from interest. Interest is invisible, silent, forgotten, but it grows relentlessly. Daniel realized he wasn't in debt because he overspent. He was in debt because he didn't understand interest. Emily placed a hand on his back and said softly, "Dan, this is why you're always stressed." He listed every debt from smallest to largest and decided to attack the smallest first. This wasn't about math. It was about psychology. Paying off even one small balance gave him hope. Each paid off felt like lifting a brick off his chest. Debt stopped being a shadow. It became a solvable equation. But Daniel's real battle was emotional spending. His spending spikes always matched his stress spikes. After exhausting shifts, he'd wander through Target just to look, filling his cart with things he didn't need: protein bars, a hoodie, a Bluetooth speaker, a planner he'd never use. At checkout, $147 flashed on the screen. He paid anyway. For a moment, the new items felt exciting. Then guilt replaced excitement. Then shame. This is emotional compensation spending, buying to soothe feelings, not fill needs. Daniel's triggers were clear: stress, boredom, loneliness, comparison, feeling unappreciated. One evening, Emily told him gently, "You're not buying things, Dan. You're buying moments of escape." Those words broke something open inside him. He made a list of healthier replacements. Take a 15-minute walk. Breathe deeply. Journal his feelings. Text a friend. Wait 24 hours before buying anything non-essential. Slowly, the emotional loop weakened. Spending was no longer therapy, it became just spending. Daniel's biggest practical flaw was relying on hope. He hoped he wouldn't overdraft. Hoped his paycheck would last. Hoped emergencies wouldn't happen. Hope was his financial plan. But hope never beats math. His finances weren't bad because he was responsible, they were bad because they were unmanaged.
One Saturday, after weeks of procrastination, he opened a blank spreadsheet. Emily sat beside him and said, "Let's make it simple." And they did. 50% for needs, 30% for wants, 20% for savings and debt. No complicated budgeting. No guilt. Just clarity. They listed rent, groceries, gas, subscriptions, loan minimums, fun money. For the first time, he saw the full picture. Then came the game-changer: automation. Automatic transfers to savings every payday. Automatic bill payments. Automatic debt payments. Automation removed willpower from the system. He didn't need to be disciplined daily, only once. He started weekly check-ins, monthly subscription audits, and kept a $50 buffer in checking. Slowly, his stress dissolved. His money became predictable, manageable, understandable. He wasn't hoping anymore, he was planning. But the hardest habit, the one that kept him broke for years, was living only for today. If he had money, he spent it. If he didn't, he panicked. Future Dan didn't exist in his mind. Everything was about the next 48 hours. One day, his co-worker Marcus casually mentioned, "I invest 10% of every paycheck. Been doing it since I was 25. Daniel laughed and said, "I can barely survive until Friday." Marcus smiled and said, "That's exactly why you need to start. Investing isn't for rich people. It's how people become rich." That night, Daniel lay in bed imagining his future self, 40-year-old him with no savings, no investments, constant stress. The image terrified him. He opened an investing app. He didn't understand much, but he started anyway. $20. That's it. Emily reminded him, it's not the amount, it's the identity. Slowly, 20 became 40, then 60, then 100. For the first time in his adult life, Daniel felt momentum. 6 months later, Daniel wasn't the same man. His bank account didn't frighten him. His credit card wasn't maxed out. His savings were growing. His relationship improved. His stress dropped. One evening, he opened his banking app and felt pride instead of fear. He whispered, "I'm finally getting ahead." But his transformation wasn't about the numbers. It was emotional. He no longer avoided mail, no longer bought to escape feelings, no longer believed he was bad with money. He became a man in control. The habits that kept him broke turned into habits that built him awareness, structure, emotional maturity, long-term thinking, and systems that quietly worked in the background. Daniel wasn't rich, but he was free. And freedom is wealth. Now take a moment and look at Daniel's journey. Ask yourself gently, which one of these habits is holding you back? Because financial change doesn't begin with money. It begins with awareness. With the decision to say, "I want better for my future self." If this story inspired you or opened your eyes, subscribe for more life-changing finance stories. Your transformation starts today.